blocked by T. So rude.
I'm all right with it.
AGH, good evening. Robert Cohen, Greg Martin, EO. Cheers.
We got a big delay? Is that what we got?
We got a delay. There's always a delay. Sometimes you just have to jumpstart the delay a little bit and get, reverb. That's a big time sponsorship coming through.
It's a nice one. I was
Big
hoping
with
for,
the creatives.
hoping for some more love sack. We look super close to each other in this shot.
We do. We're very tight in and like a big set, but super like on the same side of the booth.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do about that. I don't necessarily come in too tight, but let's do something about it.
I don't think it's necessary. I think we could just go do it.
Now we talked about it. Bring her in. Let's bring her in. This could be a little something.
Just above the table, please. There's no need to see what happens down there. We got a lot of helmets in this shot.
There's
a lot of helmet in this near
the
shot.
Helmet shot. Is it straight? Is it straight across the table?
That's as straight as those helmets are going to get, man.
Well, once I sit this close to you, it becomes a lot less straight. But at least look at this. All right, we're a little off center. That's okay. Embiggens us all. It certainly does. What do you think?
I think it looks great.
All right, here we go. We already got 2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs and a snap and a Z formation. Appreciate you guys. I'm looking up there for the camera, but it's actually still all the way down here now.
There you are.
On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Marangolo. This is Thank God It's Tuesday. He's Kevin Rick.
Yes, this will be a hands and helmets above the table type of Tuesday. Without Strachan here, we can't just be going all south of the border. We got to wait for him to get back in town.
This isn't that kind of show tonight.
Yeah.
We saved that for T's Only fans.
That's true, but he likes when we tease it when he's not here.
Well, check out T's OnlyFans page. I guess is
at
the moral of that story. Official Commanders show of Hawks Haven, First Amendment Sports, basements all across this land. The Commanders have had a very successful few days since the last time we spoke. We got ourselves an offensive coordinator, which is great on multiple levels. Obviously, it's big to have an offensive coordinator.
It's nice, but we weren't doing well without one.
No.
We didn't do super great with one, but
it's been a while since we've done great with one. But the ability to hire one, and really, I think, the one we wanted.
How can you want, honestly, if anyone else was like, I really wanted some, who else? This was the one I didn't think we could get. I thought for sure he was going to Baltimore last week, and he had already been signed that morning. I was a little busy last Tuesday, but I was like, that's it. That means he's coming to us.
Again, probably someone should have advised him. But I think the advice was, hey, the reason why it's been a terrible place is about to change. So, be the first offensive coordinator in the post-Dan Snyder era. To me, that's a pretty appealing offer from an agent. But so I was happy that we got it done. Forgetting, putting aside for a second Eric Bieniemy, I was glad we got it done because it says a lot about Ron Rivera. Not just about, obviously he's in charge and he's calling shots, but for a guy to want to sign on to a 1 year, a 1 year deal. I mean, it's all 1 year deals now, right? We can talk about that in a little while. It has everything to do with Ron Rivera. That means Eric Bieniemy, he must like coming into the situation because of Ron Rivera.
Yes, and just before they start yelling at you on there, we had this conversation. It is essentially a 1 year deal, but it's the first time he's ever signed a multiple year deal in his history as a coach in the NFL. Kansas City, they don't pay market for guys like that. They don't. He gets a 1 year deal every year, and it gives him, the ability to go and look for that job and not be tied up. But also, it's a little bit difficult to make a ton of money in a jumbo lump sum at Kansas City. So this is a bunch of money for him up front. So he's getting paid. But I love hearing the reactions from some of these guys. We've seen him go at Mahomes. We understand that he's kind of a dog. We understand that's he's got a fiery coaching style. Good. He pays attention to detail. Pat Mahomes said 2 days before the Super Bowl, everyone should have Eric Bieniemy in their lives because he gets you prepared for sure. Andy Reid said he pays attention to every detail. He leaves no stone unturned. He gets it. And I think his exact quote was, he brings it every day, doesn't let one thing slide.
Let one thing slide.
Well, you know what? This is a place that has let a lot of shit slide over the last 20-some years, and I don't mind having a guy like that on board, especially with Ron Rivera, with the military background, Jack Del Rio. We know he's old school. We got 3 dudes up at the top of our rankings right now. All 3 have Super Bowl rings. Now, be it Rivera's as a player, but our coordinators are both wearing rings whenever they like to due to their participation. Jack Del Rio in the Super Bowl 35, coaching linebackers for the Ravens, and obviously we know what Eric Bieniemy is bringing to the table in the last 5 years.
I'm glad he got the money. He deserves the money. For all the people that are like, and I've heard way too much of it. I heard it before we hired him, and I've heard it since about the people who had that air of skepticism where they're like, yeah, but why didn't he get a job before this? Like, there's got to be something about him. He's got a little hair on him and baggage, and I think there's 2 things. One, like, we're the team with hair on us. We're the team with baggage. We aren't.
Why is everyone so hairy?
Yeah, there's a lot of hairiness on this side of the table. That's step 1. Step 2 is like, can't we have nice things? Like, can't we have someone who clearly knows how to be a part of a really, really good offense? We have not been good on offense. Our offensive numbers are not good. They're not even like middle of the pack in most years since really like probably Norv Turner. And Norv Turner was classically middle of the pack or better. He had some pretty good offenses here in Washington. But for God's sake, like, we think we have good players. We have fast young players, and he is a guy who is highly regarded as an offensive mind. The whole concept of like this search that was not going to be an up and comer, a hot to trot college coach or coordinator, some like next big thing. Like, Ron Rivera was very clear. He's like, I want an experienced guy. Like, all the experienced guys we interviewed, they've been around for a long time, and they're not idiots. But Eric Bieniemy is the most up and coming guy of a group of established coaches. I think we get the best of both worlds there.
He's been under Andy Reid for 10 years, his offensive coordinator for the last 5. Everyone can argue about who called the plays, who did he call enough, blah, 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 blah. This man has learned some serious football. He's brought it. He has really evolved under Andy Reid. When Andy Reid says you're ready, Andy Reid doesn't lie. Ron Rivera, that's Andy Reid's the guy he relies upon for advice as a head coach in this league. This is a man many guys look up to. Andy Reid is not full of shit. Andy Reid has got this guy's back, and he's putting the Andy Reid stamp on him and saying this guy's ready. And this is a lateral maneuver for him. But you know what? It does give him a couple things. That title, the ability to bring in his own staff, which I think is humongous. We'll get to that in a second. But that's a big part of that deal, including the money and the ability to say, all right, let's do it the Eric Bieniemy way.
Former running back, the picture on Hawks Haven is his time in San Diego. Kind of a hard nose.
Who drafted him?
Charlie Casserly. Bobby Beathard?
Bobby
Beathard.
Beathard.
That was my first answer. And then
Bobby Beathard birthed him into the National Football League, and I think that's a good thing. Guys, that means Bobby Beathard did his homework many moons ago. And there was a little bit of hair there. I think he was a bit of a wild guy back in the day. I don't think he was a bad dude. I think he just was a bit of a...
He was a name, though. Like, you knew who he was. Like, if you watched NFL on Sundays, you know who Eric Bieniemy was.
Of course. Sleeping with Bieniemy. Come on.
Correct.
That was a...
Someone even brought that up. He has his own boomerism.
He does have his own boomerism. That's well put. And that's pretty cool. Yeah. And you know what? He hasn't had any trouble in 20-some years. He's a family man. But, people were pointing that finger early and often to give that explanation. But you want to look back on anyone's track record as a coach in the NFL right now from 35 years ago, you're going to find, what have you been saying? A bunch of hair. There's going to be some hair there, especially from the 70s. There's like hip-to-hip scenarios of hair. It's tough out there. But let's get over that portion of it.
The only thing that I tongue-in-cheek bring up about this scenario, as the battered Redskins football team Commanders fan that I am, Andy Reid has been successful a couple of times of moving a guy from his city to our city. Obviously Jeremiah Trotter, obviously Donovan McNabb at like precisely the right moment. Now, is that going to happen now? Of course not. Of course it isn't.
Ron coached under Andy. Andy doesn't pull that shit with Ron.
I know,
All right,
of
all right.
course. Andy Reid, but it's so funny because
That's specifically related to Shanahan's.
okay. Hey, I mean, again, I'm a believer. Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 3 times. But I think I'm pretty sure there's a whole different situation. We got the right guy this time. Andy Reid. This is not the same situation. But it does make me laugh. The staff that he's coming onto, it's shaping up nicely. Ken Zampese on the quarterback coach, another old ball bag. It sets up interestingly for, it's like one of those, like, even though we're not talking about like the A-list blockbuster stars necessarily, but it sets up for like one of those movies that comes out and it's got like an ensemble cast of a bunch of guys who've been around for a long time. I mean, if they all come together and have like a really good year this year, like they could easily be here for multiple years as a group. And right now, maybe you wouldn't bet on that. Like if you were sitting in a casino and you're like, is this going to be the coaching staff 1 year from now? It'd be hard to say like more than 51% yes, except for if it all goes right.
Yeah, but if it all goes right,
Or
that means Ron's back. That
Yes.
means then we got a new offensive coordinator for next year. I mean,
Yes.
that's the best we can hope for.
And if we lose
Whatever.
Bieniemy, because that's the other thing. If we lose Bieniemy to a head coaching spot, we get draft picks,
Yeah.
multiple draft picks. I believe at least like I want to say 2/3, but it's something. I know I'll mess it up. Someone on the board knows the answer. If
I do not.
if Eric Bieniemy gets
I know we
hired
get
away-
something.
Yeah, we get
I know
something.
we get something.
So it's like a win-win.
It's part of the reason for the 2-year deal.
Hell yes.
Yes.
Hell yes.
Yes, it is. But you know what else part of the reason is in year one as offensive coordinator under Andy Reid, that was Pat Mahomes' sophomore season. He had started one season the year before. He brought these guys in together to sync them up heading into the year that we knew he was going to start. Fast forward 5 years down the road, this is obviously Sam Howell's sophomore season, starting up, synced up after one start his freshman year, his rookie season, and now they're bringing in Eric Bieniemy up front early and often. Let's get reps done. Let's start now. Let's go. And it's very curious to me. He sat and watched one of the guys who might be one of the greatest ever at the position, arguably, start off his second through sixth year. We're not saying that's who Sam Howell is, but this is a really good guy for that type of scenario in this league to have standing on your side for a young Sam Howell. I think that's a really big deal. Not to mention the ability to run the ball, which he understands you have to do. We're going to be balanced, but there's going to be a little more 11 personnel, I think, than our 21 of this past season. When we wanted to get to 21, when we could. All the personnel doesn't matter because the personnel matches up. I do think maybe a McCole Hardman or a Valdez Scantling comes in here at that 4 or 5 guy.
Really?
And, you know what?
Hardman would be interesting.
Nico Hardman would be very interesting because he's in a contract year and also that speed. But you want a guy in there during training camp and these mini camps who knows the offense. You can sit there and chirp with these guys, and it's always better to have a guy who's been there. And I think with that type of speed, you're talking about not re-signing a Cam Sims. People are going to be upset about. Hey, he's giving us a hell of a run. Nico Hardman can fly, and when you got 3 wideouts and you're playing 3 a majority of the time. Offensively, that means you're going to be rotating those 3. It's not going to be the same guy. De'Ami Brown's going to get his shot and opportunities. McCole Hardman's going to get in there. This is a very, very receiver-friendly scenario, and we've got some pretty damn good guys out there. And our running backs,
great at throwing at running backs.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like one of his strengths.
So this is shaping up to look pretty damn cool if we get this damn offensive line straightened out, which obviously we know.
Wait. On the board, so he's got to be here for 2 years. You're saying, but what's that answer? Is it 2/3 then, or 1/3 or something? So yeah, of course, if he coaches well this year and we're good, then everyone's back for a second year. The new owner's not firing people for getting us to the playoffs, for example. So after that, that's what I'm talking about. I like the idea of like. So many quarterbacks in this league are getting just absolutely churned on offensive coordinators. I mean, I feel like it's one of those things every team can legitimately complain about. There's a lot of churn on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's an offensive head coach who gets cycled out because that carousel just spins, and obviously the coordinator carousel is huge. So these quarterbacks in the league now, they're expected almost. I mean, only a few people get the same offense exactly year over year over year over year over year. So I'm kind of out on that. He has to learn new terminology.
They do say this version of the West Coast is very similar to a lot of the
Yeah.
stuff Scott Turner was doing, but it's going to be
The principles.
terminology.
Yeah.
It's the same shit, different name. So it's the same shit.
Yeah.
Some will call it poop. It's all. They just got to figure it out. It's this, but I mean that's
And
difficult for a
his-
bit. That'll be fine.
he
That'll
knows
be
about
fine.
that.
No, that'll
But
be
like
fine.
the point about
It is 3 and 3 years though. You have to take that, and basically
Yeah.
4 because his junior year versus his senior year were two totally different offenses.
well, no,
down in
he had Michael
Carolina.
Carter and
Right.
Javonte Williams
Right.
his junior year, and they were
And De'Ami
stud
Brown.
runner. And I'm saying like the two running backs,
Right.
they both had 1,000 yards, and they both had like crazy.
And the
good
receivers
receiving
went
years.
nuts too. Yeah. So
But so like Mahomes is special, obviously, and there's not many Mahomes out there. But like Sam Howell is incredibly athletic, very strong, very little tread on him. And if you watch his film, like he's an athlete. He's like he's a next level athlete. Like he's not a statuesque stand
No.
around and wait to get hit in the pocket and throw. So, Eric Bieniemy, I'm not going to compare Howell to Mahomes, but I will tell you that if a coach like worth his salt will say like, here's what we were able to do with Mahomes. Like we could do a lot of it, a whole lot of it with Sam Howell's athleticism. He's athletic enough to pull off some of the quarterback motion. We always talk about motion, wide receivers and running backs, but Mahomes, he was involved in a lot of motion all by himself. A lot of the step backs and the shovels and the 2 steps here, pitch back there. I mean, he was a dancer.
well,
And
motion
how
wise,
to
let's
do that.
focus on the motion because I love that you just said that.
Yeah.
And our best victory of the season this year, the best thing Scott Turner did all season long, and the board I think would answer it before I could. Utilizing motion in the run game versus the Philadelphia Eagles, we maintained time of possession. We were able to achieve first downs against a defense that, to be honest, outmatched our offense. But that ability to utilize motion was the best thing we did all year long. We did a little bit of it off and on throughout the course of the season, but we didn't stick with it. We just saw what Kansas City did utilizing motion in the run game in that Super Bowl. It was bonkers.
Yeah.
It was bonkers. Yeah, and to be. Just before I forget, Jerick McKinnon, while utilizing motion in the run game, busts through there in the fourth quarter and slides. Everyone in that locker room says that's Eric Bieniemy. He is out there every day talking to them about situational football. He's this nut job. He drives them nuts. He drives them bonkers. But McKinnon said afterwards, and so did Pat Mahomes, that's what you get with an Eric Bieniemy. So we're not going to have any more headbutting of the walls or Kirk Cousining of the spikes on fourth down, or we're not. I think it's a brand new era offensively, and paying attention to detail for me is huge. It is what this league needs. It's what you need to be a great offense. He knows that. Pat Mahomes isn't walking into the locker room in Landover. We understand that. But this dude, very, very proficient in college running RPOs. Well, let's be honest. We're going to be an RPO team moving forward. That's what we do now. That's what Eric Bieniemy does. We did a little bit of it last year with these guys, but we're going to be an RPO team, and we know that Andy Reid's screen game is the most legit and copied and understood screen game in the game, and Bieniemy's been right there with him in the pits going over that. So look for some more talented, athletic linemen in the fold because we're going to do a lot of different things athletically from east to west in this offense. You're going to see a ton of jet sweeps, jet touches. There's going to be a lot of motion. This is going to be something different for us, and I'm pumped to see it evolve starting right away.
Sam's propensity, obviously, to get it sooner right away, which is like, so the other thing about changing quarterback coaching, offensive coordinating, and those kinds of things for a young quarterback, the positive is that we control them for another couple years, so if this does work, and he's able to get in there early. Like you look at, for example, Todd Monken took over the Baltimore Ravens offensive coordinator. He might not see Lamar Jackson until August, maybe. Like worst case scenario, or like maybe just like a medium case scenario. Him, the brand new offensive coordinator, and a potentially like all pro, all time quarterback aren't going to talk for 6 months. That's like the longest he can go without signing his franchise tender if that's what happens. Like, so that's not our situation. And that situation's happening around the league. There's like 4 or 5 or 6 other places where a brand new offensive coach is not able on his first day, week, or month on the job to work with the starting quarterback because either he hasn't been drafted yet, he's a free agent who hasn't been signed yet, or is a guy like Lamar Jackson who's not there. So we have to be appreciative of the entirety of our situation. The fact that we can bring in an Eric Bieniemy and then he can on day one start working with a quarterback that we do have under control for a reasonable period of time to find out how good he can be. I mean, these are all things. These are all feathers in our cap, and we shouldn't overlook. We complain about it a lot because there's a lot of shit deserves to be complained about around here. But when things do work out, like just little things like that. The offensive line, like you said, it just has to. The board is talking about it. We can talk about what kind of offensive lineman we're looking at, but at the end of the day, that's the next great spot of where our resources have to be completely laser focused on.
We need like 3/4 of a ton of O-line. Like, legitimately. We need so much beef. We need so many more dudes, but we just get these guys, we get them together, and we have an athlete back there that when it all breaks down, this is a guy that in 2021, Sam Howell was 3rd in the nation in college football in yards per carry at 8.1. That's remarkable to me. Although number 1 that year, who was number 1 that year in yards per carry?
What year? This past
2021.
year? 2021.
Nope, 2 years ago. Sam Howell's last year playing college football.
The most yards per carry in college football in 20.
Average yards per carry in college football in 2021 at the quarterback position. Quarterback position. No, I think he was a Bear that year.
He was a Bear in 2021. This was his second year. So
I think so. Yes.
I got to think back. Don't say.
I'm going to say it because.
Give me the initials.
CW.
Carson Wentz.
You've called his high school football games before. Caleb Williams, of course, he led the nation in rushing. But that shows you what type of athlete Sam Howell is and who we're talking about. Like, Caleb Williams is a 4.5 dude. Like, he's a blur. He's a freak athlete. Sam Howell might not be a 4.5 guy, but he's right there. He's right there. He's at the 4.6, 4.7 guy, and it's going to be the most athletic quarterback we've had in a while. But he's got to figure out how to utilize his spots in the passing game, and we're definitely going to utilize him in this run game. So,
dude, he did it. Like, we saw him. Like, where he doesn't. If he can't, he's not going to beat the league with his speed. But the cut he put on the Dallas defense from 11 or 12 or 13 yards out, and then got straight to the end zone. That's a whole different way to beat you, and it's as valuable as speed in the red zone.
That's a nose. They call that a nose for the end zone. There, he found his way there by feel, and that can't last too often because that angle he took. You see another linebacker taking a similar angle. We all know how that ends. So that leads me to this. Aside from Marcus Mariota, which we talked about last week, we might need a dude of that similar stature because we're going to need to run the ball at the quarterback position the way we are set up this way. When you don't have an Aaron Rodgers or just a Joe Burrow, a guy, you have to be able to run that quarterback or else you just,
Is Pat White still available?
No, but Mike White will be.
Mike White.
Mike White will be available.
Do you like Mike White?
I don't know. As a backup, I don't know. I don't know what I like as a backup.
There's going to be some interesting choices. I mean,
I'm
I
very
want
curious.
Taylor Heineke. He still remains my number one.
But so this is more of an intermediate. It's not a downfield, haul it off offense. This has got some West Coast properties still.
Yeah.
But instead of the dink dunk, Andy Reid, he isn't from the 0 to 5 yard type guy. So I don't believe Bieniemy will be. We're talking the 5 to 15, 20 yard range. That's where the majority of these plays are made. That's where you see Juju Smith-Schuster getting the ball. That's where you see Travis Kelce dominating. That 5 to 15, 20 yard mark in there. And yes, every now and then they'll let one rip, but you just don't see Pat Mahomes just throwing it 40, 50, 60 yards down the field. He's slaying in laser beams on corner routes and deep skinny posts. Like, he's got that howitzer. Sam Howell's shown the ability to make all those throws and the downfield ball. And if he's quick enough and athletic enough, we both believe he is to be a great ball handler, a screen guy, a quick guy, an RPO guy with that type of athleticism, pace, and understanding. This is something that is Eric Bieniemy has coached extremely well. This is something that he knows very well, and this is something that we're about to do. So we better get used to it.
Maybe there's a guy in like the second or third round that you could. I don't know the answer.
Jacoby Brissett. That's a big beefy man.
I'm not. I like Jacoby Brissett. I do. I don't like him. I'd rather have Taylor Heineke than Jacoby Brissett, even though I understand. I think Jacoby Brissett's a good NFL professional quarterback. I mean, like, he's gonna make a living for a long time doing.
He is. He's not going to get that. He's not going to make us feel that Heineke feeling in the stands coming off the bench. But
I think the players feel it too.
Yeah, I think you're right.
If your guy goes down, you need to bring someone off the bench. I think Terry McLaurin and Brian Robinson are going to get a lot more sights in the huddle with Taylor Heineke in that first play.
I imagine he would cost a hell of a lot less as well.
I think so too. So I want to find out what these price tags are, because I saw the list of all the available quarterbacks. There's a lot of quarterbacks that are going to be looking for jobs this offseason. It's a lot. It's like 15 to 20 legit quarterbacks that are going to be available.
Baker, Darnold, Garoppolo, Teddy, Brissett, White, Heineke, Huntley, Rush. Those are the guys I had in that short list of guys. But then the guys, Daniel Jones, Carr, Geno, and Lamar, they're all looking for those deals that we're not given. You know, Brady, Case, Keenum, Flacco, Dalton, the old heads, Allen, your boy Minshew's on that list.
I know it's a crazy long list, and I think that will dilute. I mean, I think Heineke's farther up the list.
That's the list right there.
Yeah.
Cooper Rush, Huntley, Heineke, White, Brissett, Teddy, Garoppolo, Darnold, and Baker. Do we have one of those guys on our roster next year?
Yes.
Man,
I think
weird.
so.
And I hope it's Heineke if that's who it is.
That's what I'm saying. If you're gonna get, like, at that point in time, you're like,
And I agree with Greg though. It doesn't have that. And I guess we don't know anything yet, but it doesn't have the feel of Heineke coming back. But I guess that couldn't be determined until Bieniemy gets in the house. I mean,
think, Kevin, I think he's gonna get paid. I think someone's gonna pay him more money than we are willing or want to pay. I think we're gonna be like, you know what? Awesome. Go get that money. I mean, that's what I think is gonna happen, because he showed something. There's we said it all last year. He's one of the top 32 quarterbacks in the league. He's like, by that definition, he's a starter, technically a starter. And
that's not a very impressive list of people that.
No.
Not aside from Heineke, one of these guys runs out onto the field when Howell just has to take a play off because he's going to be fine.
Yes.
Like, which one? Huntley might get me a little excited.
If it's not going to be Heineke.
Aside from Heineke,
and if it's not Heineke, you know who my guy is on that list.
Baker?
Oh yeah,
Jesus Christ!
Of course.
Then the freaking the Coke guy runs him down at the 3, and the freaking the cotton candy man whips his ass in the hallway after the game. Oh Lord!
But again,
just his ability to not be elusive amongst 3 security guards has driven me bonkers forever. Not one of those guys that showed any form of athleticism.
And we haven't heard from him since.
Not
I don't
much.
know who they've brought down. I think the answer is, we can't, if we're going to go aggressive on our offensive line and somehow figure out a way to bring in a linebacker, that leaves approximately $0 for any kind of luxury spend at all at the quarterback position.
Yeah, this is the problem. This is why the linebacker is such a, that's a lot. This is why we talked about it today. Do we go after a couple veteran guards? Like, listen, man, you don't want to just bring in Bieniemy. Let's have all these weapons and then just try and patchwork. We saw what happened patchwork last year with an injury or two. We got devastated up front. I mean, especially with Wentz not being able to get rid of the ball. At least Heineke understood the survival of the fittest mantra and was capable of getting rid of that ball. But like I said, 3 starters? Do we need 3? A minimum of 2 and possibly 3 starters.
3 startable players.
That's a lot, man.
Guys you can roll out. Well, so if AGH is right, AGH says he sees somewhere he's getting $14 million. If that's $14 million per year on any possible deal, it ain't going to be here at all. But like, if it's $14 million, if he my whole approach,
that's a lot. I thought Heineke might get 5 or 6.
Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Like a $12-13 million after 2-year deal.
Yeah, but what I like if I think the play on a guy, because he's 30 years old and he's kind of Heineke'd it up. He's been kind of a sensational backup, but he's capable of playing in the league. Like, I would go to his agent and I'd say, like, how much guaranteed money do you need to make this happen? Like, because if Heineke signs a 3-year deal with most any team, there's no chance they're guaranteeing 3 years. But if he's get like a $14 million per year deal, he's getting at least $14 million, right? So if I'm the Commanders, I'm like, what if I guarantee you $14 million and you sign a 3-year deal with us? Like, I'd be willing to take on a little bit of potential dead money at the end of his deal to keep him here for a couple of years as a backup at the $6 or $7 million level at the most.
Right, and we're already saving a crap load of money at the quarterback position, especially in comparison to anyone else. But we're not anyone else because we're utilizing it in different places. That's where we have to succeed. Mm-hmm. We have got to draft our ass off in the spring. This is the most important draft of the Rivera tenure. He's not going to be out there looking for projects. I can't imagine he's out there looking for guys that can help him 2 to 3 years down the road.
Nope.
This is going to be best available, plug and play first 3 rounds. And obviously we hope that compensatory for Brandon Scherf, nets us that 3rd round pick, because that's where we've hit the most freaking home runs, is in that 3rd round. So let's hope to God that we still got that coming, because we don't have a 3rd. Shout out Carson Wentz for this draft. Heading as of right now today, we do not have a 3rd round draft.
We're going to get it though, right?
I think so.
I think we're going to get it too.
So.
It'll come back. I mean, so if the offensive lineman that does not perfectly fit Bieniemy's scheme isn't there, then we have it's like either corner or offensive line. I feel like then.
I couldn't agree more. I think there's only 3 spots on defense, depending on what happens with Daron Payne, that we obviously know linebacker.
Yep.
We're pretty much loaded up at that safety spot. William Jackson did not work out. We need someone that will, and that would be great. I think we're stacked everywhere. Linebacker and a badass corner, depending on Daron Payne. We bring Daron Payne back, and we sign a linebacker or 2 and draft a corner. We're looking at it. And that changes the philosophy offensively.
You run the ball 3 out of 4.5 plays. I mean, if that's the case, right?
Let's go.
Yeah, and then in that case, then you're going out on the market and you're saying, I need like 6 good running backs, 6 serviceable running backs. So stash 3 on the practice squad, and we're gonna. You know what? You're gonna come in on
what we do.
You're gonna come in on week 11, week 12.
I can see McKinnon getting some usage if he can get healthy finally.
McKissick.
McKissick.
Yeah.
JD, sorry.
If JD,
JD.
I'm
not Jared. Our guy, not
Yeah.
theirs. People are talking about us getting him as well, but I don't think we need both. I like our weaponry. Tight end's going to be odd. I don't know if we're going to need 5 tight ends. So
we need
Logan
one good one.
might not be it. And
Well,
I don't think Bates is, and I don't know, but Cole Turner is a guy.
He could be a guy
that Eric Bieniemy's going to have to look at and be like, all right. Obviously, he's no Travis Kelce.
That's right.
Obviously, let's not ever make that comparison right now. But there's some things he can do in this offense along those lines, and I hope he is that guy. We'll see. That's why we drafted him. The whole nation knew they were throwing the ball to him in every red zone scenario, and he still led the nation in red zone touchdowns his senior year. His banged up scenario last year. Let's just see if we can see a big, huge sophomore leap out of him, and get a couple bucks, because like we talked about, Logan didn't look like Logan Thomas last year.
No.
So, unless he's made a comeback and turned it around and found the fountain of youth, he's going to be an issue. So
I'm franchising Daron Payne and trying to sign him to a deal, and I'm okay with whatever the market is on Daron Payne to sign him to a 4-year deal. Whatever it is, I'm good with it. I'm going after
21
a year.
I don't know.
Done.
That was my cap.
Tremaine.
That was my ceiling.
Tremaine Edmonds. That's my top free agent target.
6'4", 255.
Yep.
4'5".
And I'm going to take all
Predator.
of the blowback. And people are like, you just want, you can't just go out and you can't go out and buy the best thing out there. I'm like, well, if in our defense, we just said it, especially if we do franchise and keep Daron Payne, and we're successful drafting a corner, which would be, delicious in this scenario.
There's so many corners, and if Joey Porter Jr. is available, I want him. Yeah. He is so long and athletic, and his dad was a freaking maniac, and this guy's going to be a stud.
And there's no way, as long as he's healthy, that every cent you spend on a guy like Edmonds in that scenario with all those players around him, that you're not getting every single cent of benefit from it. I mean, that's how you maximize your investment in a guy like that. If you put a guy who's going to keep him clean in front of him, and a guy who's going to, keep the coverage going for another 1.5 seconds.
With his length and speed, along with Jamin Davis' length and speed. Now you're talking about our safeties, all 3 of them, their ability to make plays and explode on the ball. That another corner comes into the mix, and now we're looking at St. Juice, Fuller, and a dude out there. There's a lot to get excited about defensively. Offensively, we will see what Eric Bieniemy can pull out of the hat there, but. I'm excited about it, man. This is exciting. Listen. One of these other old guys with old balls would have been just fine. This is what we kind of wanted, and that's fine. But hey, Bieniemy's it's not that he's so old, but he understands exactly how this game needs to be won. He understands the ability to gain yards, but the ability to close out with the run game. The run game. That's how you win football games in the NFL. That's how you finish. That's your closure. That's your guy coming out of the bullpen. That's when Wild Thing's playing, and
Yep.
that's what we need, and that's what we were. And we all know this. Why Joe Gibbs and Bobby Beathard and the Hogs and everyone. If we were up in the fourth quarter,
Over.
shut the door. Game,
Over.
set, match. You're finished. You're done. We never lost. Let's get back to that, man.
It's kind of like, I think this whole all these things, like, so even if we don't get Edmonds and we upgrade the offensive line and hopefully we still keep Payne, I think it's analogous to the whole owner situation. Like, there's a bunch of potential owners, but there's no, I mean, I don't know that there's anyone that I'm like, we got to have this guy. In fact, I know there's not a single person that they've talked about where I'm like, I mean, I think Bezos is as good as this guy or as good as that guy. It's just that
He's the juiciest.
it's the not Snyder aspect of it. Like,
Yeah.
like if we're successful in moving on past Snyder, it'll be like it's analogous to everything else in the entire organization that like we can find like reasons to quibble with this and that on all of these things just because, that's the whole nature of the game. But things are trending positive on multiple levels for us as fans. And yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. And we just watched a game in which two teams are playing on a level at the top of the league, even though we did wax that ass against the Eagles about a month and a half ago.
Say something.
Yeah, what do you got? So I will say that there are things that need to get done, but we're in such a great, like, it's just such a good feeling spot. And I know moving on from Snyder is such a huge part of that. It's such a huge part.
Well, I'm not there yet. I feel way better about having an offensive coordinator who's a ballsy dude, who's a proven winner, who's had success, who was flashing that big ass ring all over the Instagrams and the Facebooks and all the Twitters.
Yeah.
That thing was gigantic. That looked like a softball. Let's go get another one of those.
Yeah,
they were much smaller in the 80s and early 90s than they are now. Let's go get a big one.
All right, I'm done with that. Taylor Heineke for $11 million. Greg Martin. I mean, that's on the. I'm saying that's on the edge for me. And that now I'm asking myself, can I get anything else? I think that impedes me from being a player on a big free agent signing. So probably not.
But a veteran freaking backup is going to be somewhere in that mix. And we say
question.
we'd rather have Heineke than everyone else on that list. Some guys on that list are getting to that 11 to 15 number.
The fact that we got him for $2 million a year for the last 2 years, it's like finding a quarter on the ground. So at some point, you got to be willing to be like, because we talked about this, the distance between backups and starters on the average salaries is like $25 million. So you have your $35-40 million guys. Like if starters are making 40, then the backup making 11 can't possibly be seen as overpaying.
If Derek Carr is getting north of 40,
yes,
then something's broken. Something's wrong, and it's erroneous, and it stinks. Because if that's the deal, then what the shit do you get for $15 million? Like,
let's get a big one. And then he has to know that he wants you. He says, "We're getting a big one."
What, a big one?
A big one. But we're not. But I'm falling in line. I'm paying Taylor Heineke market to be a backup because we just had this conversation. Like we have to have a backup. We have to have someone who can play ball. If
it's wise. It's very wise.
Yes.
To have a backup quarterback in this league. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Especially not one from the draft class. That'd be nice.
Yeah, and whatever we pay,
a third one would be fine in the draft class, though.
And I think that's where he has to come from. Yeah. Like, but if you whatever we pay Heineke, you just basically divide it by 3, and that's how much our average cost per quarterback is because we're not paying Hal or this rookie.
I don't think Heineke is getting double digits.
Okay.
I don't know shit. I'm not, but like I just don't feel like 2 years, $28 million to
Daniel Jones does want 45.
I know, it's crazy. And shit, that's what happens when you don't sign that guy to the 5th-year option. And then he turns around and does good with Daboll, and now you're stuck sitting there going like, if we just signed that guy.
They could have had him for his 5th year for $17 million or whatever it was.
And now
Well, but
Yeah.
that's the beauty of the Giants. Like even when everything like kind of went right for them this season, they still effed it up at the end.
Yeah.
So like it's just a little bit of a legacy from the previous organization because I think Daboll is the man. But I think that there's a way to get Heineke some guaranteed money on a multi-year deal that makes it team friendly, and unless someone was to, like give them a poison pill type deal that they know we can't match for whatever reason, like they're guaranteeing whatever that happens. But if someone's going to be like that about Taylor Heineke, I'm kind of like, okay, you got Taylor Heineke.
Yeah.
You know?
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. But I the thing about Tremaine Edmonds, just to close it out, is he's in the category of players that you're not going to be able to just buy him. Like he has to want to come to you. So there's that.
So he might be sitting around and waiting and see what happens with old Deron Payne, is what you're saying.
I think so.
Why not?
Yeah, of course.
Because if Deron and Jonathan Allen are up there's going to be a lot of dudes in Tremaine's scenario going, I better sign that now, although he's the one.
Yeah, he can get his money from anyone he wants of the places. But our defense is a badass defense to line up in the middle of. And I think that people like him understand that. So if you do put Payne back on the
with
field,
74 starts, he certainly does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so they're not dummies. These are very, very smart men, and they understand how they do their job and how it is bettered by playing behind Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. So
Montez Chase.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of dudes up there.
Derek,
Phil
Bobby,
Mathis coming
Cameron.
back into this.
Yes. So, but that's
Ridgeway was a dude, by the way. Let's get his torn pec healed up and get back before training camp.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And I think it's another of many litmus tests for this organization over the next few months. If a guy
litmus tests. I like it.
If they want to come here, that's going to be the story because a lot of guys that we wanted didn't want us back. And I know we've kind of gotten past Valentine's Day. It was a week ago. We're kind of put that aside, but that unreturned love that we've felt so much of over the last 15 years.
Conditional. It was conditional.
It was
love.
very conditional. Very conditional. So all right. Well, we forgive the Ridgeway suplex. Sign that man. He didn't pay a dime of that fine. Is my understanding.
I love it.
My understanding. If, in fact, you haven't become a subscriber to First Amendment Sports, do it right now. It's free. There's a button right there for you. Hit the notification button and tell a friend. If you hear anything you like, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate that. We've already got 4. I think we can fit a few more before the night's out. We do have a little something fun planned now, but I don't want to move past any of your.
Oh no, I'm ready for it. Let's rock and roll.
I
heard people want to do some drafting.
We're going to go out on the draft. The draft season has begun. It's the off season, and that is the draft season. We had an awesome time over this summer. We dipped back into it over the season, a few drafts. So I thought we'd kick things off with an inspired theme because last Friday night, Kevin T and I were honored to be part of to help host a teacher appreciation award ceremony. So tonight we're drafting fictional movie or television teachers, and we're going to start with 3 rounds, and I'm going to look for a show of hands. I would like to get one person from the board to volunteer to draft fictional TV characters, teachers, fictional TV or movie teachers.
All right, now let's get in a brief minute while I will say though we did get to sit there and the 6 local church parishes that we represent over at the up the road here at the Knights. We had a fun night, teacher appreciation night. I got to say thank you to my favorite teacher I had in high school, but there was a lot of fun people. And you guys know the teachers got to party, so we wanted to bring some of that over here. And now that we hired a new teacher of offense, Mr. Eric Bienemy, to come into town and possibly teach us how to not average 18.7 points per game. I'd like to get into the 20s, Ken. It's way more fun that way. The amount of points we've left on the field over the last few years is a bit disturbing. So Just trying to buy some time for anyone that might want to reach out.
Well, are we counting principals?
I don't see why not. They're teachers of teachers. They
They are
teach
teachers of
teachers.
Teachers.
Like I have a question. Like,
Yeah.
does like Mrs. Robinson count as a teacher?
Mrs. Robinson.
Here's to you.
No.
Miss-
Yeah.
This is a healthy debate for everyone.
Is she fictional? She might be real.
She can't be real because she didn't play herself as Mrs. Robinson. She was a character's name.
That's fair.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Sod off, Snyder. That's how we ended last week. It's for the board. You know, if you think Mrs. Robinson was a teacher, it's kind of a personal preference, you know?
We're gonna Robert Cohen.
I think principal's fine.
Principal's fine.
Principal's an
Principals are
educator,
counting.
of course.
Principals are going to
Most
count.
principals have been teachers, and you don't just become a principal without being a teacher. I mean, you do, but you don't.
But you do, but you don't.
You
We're
don't.
going to go 4 rounds to get things started. I said 3. We're going to go 4. We got 2 here and 1 off the board. Who's going to pick? It looks like Robert Cohen. Yeah, AGH wants to draft Brits and Aussies, so we're going to pass on that. Life cereal.
Greg was a little upset that it wasn't drafted higher in the serial draft of 2022. I believe that's a reference.
Life cereal. I love life cereal. Just for the record, I stand by that draft pick.
So does Greg, but he was a little disappointed that there's other cereals that were taken.
There were other cereals. Robert Cohen, you gonna step up? Got some really good ones here. Let's see here. We got.
There we go. All right, I got some teachers ready.
Okay. All right. Why don't you go first then? Why don't you lead us off? Robert Cohen.
First is tough.
Robert Cohen and Greg Martin are going to pick for the board. You've been officially sanctioned. Oh no, Robert Cohen's going. Okay, Robert Cohen, you're going. You get it. You said it first. You're going.
Who did he take?
No. He's going for the board. He's going to go third, and you're going to loop it back. We're snaking this thing. You get 3 and 4, so be ready. All right, number 1.
Number 1. I wasn't prepared for number 1.
Number 1 overall.
Tough one, but I'm going to step up and go Indiana Jones is my number 1 pick. Harrison Ford, Dr. Jones.
Dr.
1981
Jones.
in the movie theater. Just remember, I can never forget when she blinked her eyes. Did it say, what did it say? I love you?
Yeah.
I think it said, I love you.
I love you.
I remember,
For sure.
I was like, wait, the teacher can say that? The student?
She was hot.
I was like, she was smoking. Saddle shoes, the whole
It was
nine.
like that was
Poodle
so
skirt.
before Me Too. When you think about it
was 1981,
Actually,
to
it
be
was
fair.
actually not even frowned upon for a teacher to date a student.
I mean,
If anyone's going to be able to be impartial, like an impartial grader, is going to be Dr. Jones.
Dr. Jones it is. So I went with
He's
Dr.
not-
Jones as my number 1 pick.
He's like, listen, dude, listen. I'm going to give you the grade you deserve, and if you have a problem with that, I'm just going to go to Kathmandu with Steven Spielberg's wife.
And also, I'll have a movie coming out in this same series called Indiana Jones in 52 years in 2023. It's called something. Dial of Destiny.
The Dial of Destiny.
It's out shortly. It's coming out shortly.
I'll be there.
I will too. It's been a great run.
It's
been a great run.
He's Han Solo and he's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, he killed it.
You're never ever going
Yeah, he
to.
killed
If either of those 2 characters star in a movie, I'm going straight.
And he's
to watch it.
Harrison Ford, which I think helps a tad bit.
It does.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have those 2 characters. Anytime there's a movie based on either of those 2 characters, how do you not go?
Yeah,
with
he
it?
definitely was a shitty teacher. That was not part of it. Like, he's definitely always like, all of a sudden he's, gotta go. And then he's gone. And you guys
like-
know what happens next.
Packing a whip and a gun and just like getting on a plane and taking the long red line across the ocean.
With the airplane noise.
unbelievable.
And it was the red dotted line,
Yeah,
too.
and then if they was only doing layovers, it would just be like a little dot, and then it would change direction, and then it would be like, "Whoa, this guy, he's just chilling." But it seemed like he got there pretty fast. The story advanced. There was no dilly dally.
Well, I mean, we were used to the Looney Tunes. We were taught how to get to Albuquerque from New York City. We went from Manhattan to Albuquerque in one episode, lickety split, no problem. We didn't even use the Roadrunner.
Think about the movie though they could have made about just with him and the stewardesses on all of those flights. If you took like three movies worth of red lines,
I think this movie's been made. I mean,
I'm just saying that was a lot. Like the distance. I bet you someone's calculated the actual distance that he's flown.
of course they have.
That's what we need to know. You know, if you just divide those miles by, even if you just divide it by 10, I think that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead, Greg. Get in there, right?
That's fine.
We initially said we had 4, Ken.
Well, we're gonna go with 4. All right, that's fine. And by the way, Ben Stein from Ferris Bueller back to back with Mr. Feeney. So Robert Cohen, you only get to pick one of those. You only get to pick one of those. So we're
Sorry,
gonna say he gets to go second.
Yeah.
We did say you were going to go back to back, but that was back to back after me.
This is a 4-man draft here, so.
Yeah, so we're going to let
Indiana Jones
is number 1. We're going to let Robert Cohen go number 2. You get to pick Mr. Lauren Sachs or Mr. Feeney. Okay.
Okay, Feeney. I read. That's how I read. Okay.
Feeney. No, that was number 2. Number 3, which is coming right now from this guy. Number 3, we're going with. I'm going to go with Mr. Garrison from South Park.
Mm-hmm.
That's Mr. Mackey.
I know. I was just going with Mr. Garrison.
Okay. Love me some Mr. Garrison. Love South Park. They're getting it done forever. And now, Greg, you get to go number 4 and 5. So there you go. You get back to back. Man, I'm going to have to put a couple more in my...
oh, you're fine. Board.
Oh, is that sound coming through on the microphone?
I didn't hear it.
Joe Clark.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Yep.
He wasn't going to be on the board long. I can't imagine him.
No, I had him on my.
Mr. Clark. All right, Mr. Clark, and then who? Damn, Greg Martin's too good at this stuff. We can't always let him get in these drafts. He always takes the good ones too soon.
Listen, you got to be the best. You got to beat the best.
True. Sir. I have not beaten the best. And Ben Kingsley in Searching for Bobby Fischer. Oh wait, no, sorry, that was he's going with John Kimball from Kindergarten Cop. Mr. Kimball, also a very good one. Very good one, Mr. Kimball. All right, so then it comes back to me. I'm going to go with Ed Rooney from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Another principal.
Going with another principal. I got a teacher and a principal. I got to be careful here. Then it's going to come back to Robert Cohen, who still has Mr. Lawrence Sachs on the board if you want him. We'll see if he stays. Okay, he'll take Mr. Lawrence Sachs, which is Ben Stein from Ferris Bueller, bringing you up for 2.
I got 2, huh? All right, well, my first one is Professor Sherman Klump. God, I love that movie. I just really enjoyed it. Okay. Hercules. My little Hercules.
The Klumps.
Buddy Love. Oh, man. What's her name? Was looking the best. She hasn't looked that good since.
Who was that?
Oh, God.
Was that Nia?
Yeah. No. It was...
Karen Parsons?
No.
Damn it.
No. Smith. Jada Pinkett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, she was great looking at that one, though. I'm going to go with... the only way to pair up Sherman Klump is obviously with Veronica Vaughn. Miss Veronica Vaughn is next. Sorry, Mrs. Sampras, but Miss Veronica Vaughn is my pick.
All right, back to Robert Cohen.
I'm all over the map here. Indiana Jones, Sherman Klump, and Veronica Vaughn.
Lowered the tone. Richard Vernon from the Breakfast Club is Robert Cohen. That's pretty good. All right, well, I'm going to double down on principals, and I'm going to go with Principal Seymour Skinner. I love him.
Seymour.
He's got a lot of depth to that character, more than just a. There's no one principal limit. Ed Rooney's more of an educator, anyways, than an administrator. You can't eat at everybody's lunches. That puts Greg Martin with a 2, because I know Greg wanted Skinner, but you got to pick 2 now, son. He's saying he didn't take Skinner because he was. I guess because it's like a Lenten thing that you're only doing one principal.
We're giving up principals for this draft.
I didn't.
What are we going to give up for Lent? Someone needs to tell AGH. Tell me what I should give up for Lent.
He's going with Mr. Garvey. Is that the substitute teacher?
Hey, Ron.
That works just fine.
He's got another though.
These are. Mr. Kimball, Veronica Vaughn. These guys all get it done. There he is.
All right, see if we got a
Sherman
nervous.
Klump. Who's that?
I got myself a date. It will be so great.
Yoda. That's pretty deep.
Yoda was on lots of lists. That's why.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to. All right, we're gonna table talk this one. But
Okay.
I put Mr. Miyagi off my list.
I think if Yoda's on the list,
but he's a great teacher.
if Yoda's on the list, Miyagi's on the list.
I agree. Right, but I don't need to. I'm gonna go with straight up classroom teachers. That's how I'm rolling.
All right. So who's next? Me, right?
Yes, sir. You got Garrison, Rooney, and Skinner. So far, your foursome seems super creepy.
So far, it's just a threesome. Ed Rooney and Seymour
I'm including
Skinner.
you in it. I'm including you in the foursome.
Okay, fair enough. Fair.
But I'm not saying you're the least creepy of the group. Wow, this isn't directed at you. This is directed at your team.
That's the nicest
I got Indy, Sherman, and Veronica over here. I mean, I got a lot going on.
I'm gonna go with. Yoda does count, but if you want
Yeah.
Mr. Hand, I'm taking Yoda. But I already got Mr. I think I got Mr. Garrison, which gives me Mr. Hand. I think that's the way it works.
This isn't the puppet, Mr. Hand?
Mr. Hand. So if I have Mr. Garrison, I also get by default Mr. Hand.
I tell you one thing, you're getting awful handsy without Strachan here tonight. That's a fact. Awful handsy. You took two Mr. Hands. You essentially have two Mr. Hands, along with Garrison, Rooney.
AGH wants desperately for someone. I don't know. I'm going Dewey Finn.
I thought you just took.
No. Mr. Hand comes with Mr. Garrison, who was my first.
No,
round
but
pick.
what about the other Mr. Hand?
There's another Mr. Hand.
Sir, that was the whole joke I just made. Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Is
No,
Mr. Hand.
sorry. That's not.
That was totally confusing.
I-
The whole
what I-
time, I thought you took Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I was
That's
thinking-
why I said you were getting awful handsy.
I thought it was. I confused it with Mr. Hat. Mr. Hat.
Okay, Mr. Hat.
My bad, everybody.
Okay,
You're right.
That was
You're
right,
Craig.
That was a really creepy conversation.
I'm not taking Mr. Hand. That's not my pick. I'm going with Dewey Finn.
Jack
from
Black.
School of Rock. Jack Black, aka Mr. Schnibley. Love that movie. I think it's great. All right, Cohen. Who do you got? Helen Crump from the Andy Griffith Show.
Crump.
That's freaking
Andy
old.
scooped her up, didn't he?
All right, Mr. Irrelevant. Who's it going to be?
Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to have to go. I didn't want to have to do it, but I'm going to. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to go with my heart on this one.
Go with your heart.
Ken Reeves, the White Shadow. The White MFing Shadow. He was like a white privileged dude at the inner high. And didn't start off good at all, but he turned into the basketball coach, mentor, and dude, I couldn't miss an episode of White Shadow. It was baller.
That's pretty great.
It was pretty cool. It was a good old school show, man.
Mr. Reeves. AGH didn't like any of our picks. Thank you, Robert Cohen, for the Dewey Finn pick. That's how we do it on Tuesday nights.
Oh, dude, you didn't want. All right, I'm just gonna say,
We got okay. Let's do some cutting.
Miss
cutting on the
Bliss,
floor.
Miss Bliss deserve.
yeah,
Miss
Miss
Bliss
Bliss.
deserved maybe a shout out.
Miss
do you got?
Frizzle,
Okay.
Miss Krabappel, who was the cover person for
Yeah,
our
I
show
know.
tonight.
I know. How does she not get drafted? And how the hell do we not draft Mr. Cotter? I went White Shadow over Mr. Cotter.
if I got
but if I could
Mr.
redo it again, because it was only because it would be Mr.
Yeah.
Cotter if we had two more rounds. But I went with White Shadow with my last pick because he's the white effing shadow, obviously.
Miss Bliss.
Freddie Shoop from Summer School was just such a great movie, but
Mark
it's
Harmon?
kind of a cult. Yeah.
Yep. I thought you were going to pick him.
Professor Dave Jennings from Animal House.
Okay.
Super baked all the time.
Donald
Donald Sutherland.
Yep.
I think he was co-editing as well. Lots of co-editing for him.
Yeah.
And he basically said, like, this class is super boring. I don't know how anyone shows up. I hope you're as baked as I am. And I thought, excellent teaching. Excellent teaching, sir. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Sean McGuire, Good Will Hunting. And people do love the Dead Poets Society,
Mr. King.
Robin Williams.
That would have been my next pick.
So I was more of a fan of Good Will Hunting, Robin Williams, but that's about it. Oh, I had Molly McGrath. Now I know in Wildcat she taught at the preppy school that she coached track at. She was a teacher and a track coach. I think she did.
I want to say she was a PE coach or PE teacher.
All right. Well, I would have drafted her. I got nervous, but football. Who the hell are you talking about?
Redoeth Waterloo Road. Oh, for the Brit show. AGH. Principal Snyder. If he's going to have some names for us. Mr. Cartmanes.
Yeah.
Lots. Walter White was out.
Charlie Brown's teacher.
Miss Norvath or something like that.
I don't know. But they all the teachers. Sorry, teachers, but when I was of the age, they all sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher to me.
Of course.
I was just in there, just no idea what was going on. It was tough in those classrooms. But ball bricker, wow, that's taking it back, Porky style right there.
I mean, if Yoda's available, Obi-Wan and Anakin. Yeah.
Well, Yoda's Yoda.
But Yoda's the Yoda. Well, T has been on assignment all night long. He's handing out a trophy for a 13, 14-year-old CYO basketball tournament tonight. I'm sure we'll hear about that from him next week.
One of 7 awards named after T that he gives out annually. That's honest. He honestly does do that. It's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
That's why he's not here tonight. He's giving out the T. Strachan Award to a bunch of 7th and 8th graders who won a championship. Not sure who
we give out a lot of awards named after us, but nobody has asked for them. People don't accept them.
Yeah.
They are begging us to stop doing it.
We give them to each other eventually.
It's true.
But
Ken Marangolo 2023.
And for some reason, T never invites us to when he gives out the T. Strachan Award. Dude, that's a solo mission every time. Yep. He's never like, you guys should meet my friends, like my colleagues. I want to be a colleague, T, if you're out there.
Someday.
All right.
Someday we're going to be colleagues with T. Maybe by next Tuesday. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
Yeah, board appreciation night as well.
By next week, we hope to know a little bit more about Deron Payne and the franchise tag situation. I'm kind of hopeful that gets resolved right this very second while we're on the air and they're able to put the franchise tag on him. Just don't risk at all any possibility of him not being on our team next year, is my own personal opinion. And we'll also potentially know more about the owner thing. I mean, the thing about the owner thing, the owner meetings are in March. And that has always been targeted as when they're going to say, here's your new owner. Like, blessed
30
by
days
the league.
from today.
That's right. So to me, that's the time. All the things you hear, the tantrums and the pouting, and I'm not taking this much money, and I'm not selling to him, and maybe I'm not selling at all, or maybe I'm only selling that piece over there. Like, I don't listen to any of it. There's no way in hell Dan Snyder is coming back as the owner of this team for like 1,000 reasons.
He's on a monthly lease at this point. He's got 30 days, baby, until the owners' meetings.
He's around for another hot second. We'll continue to keep our eyes on that. Until next week, thank you so very much. Fictional Cops. Ooh, that's pretty strong.
It is.
Just so you can pick John Kimball again? I'm on to you, buddy. I'm very much on to you. He's Kevin Ricca.
Somebody should be fictional cop board person next week. A 4-person draft is better than an odd draft. An even draft has more of a smooth feel to it.
Correct.
It swings around the gate a little nicer. I love drafting and talking crap with this board. Looking forward to next Tuesday. We'll get old Strachan back in the building. Hopefully he doesn't have any Strachan awards left to give out this week. If he does, we'll have him give it to one of you guys. So,
by the way, private eyes, they totally count, Craig. So if we're doing fictional cops, private eyes, private detectives, private dicks, as they're called in the business.
So no gumshoes? Is that what we're saying?
Oh, no, gumshoes for sure.
All right, gumshoes count.
We have some gumshoes for sure. Dirty or clean.
It's
Whatever.
fine.
I'm not,
But
I'm
I
not
keep
here to
mine
judge.
clean.
Well, live on the dirty side here and there. Appreciate you guys.
Here's
We'll
to
be
you
back
guys.
next Tuesday. Until then, I'm Ken Marigold. This was, thank God it's Tuesday. We're still live. Can't have a whole draft of gumshoes, Robert.
I don't know. I have to do my gumshoe research.